Welcome to How2Mechanics. In this video, I'll be showing how to replace your pivot boom bushings on a Patriot Sprayer. If you're having issues when you go to fold your booms back in and it's not cradling correctly, this is more than likely going to be your problem. What happens over time is these bushings wear out, and a little bit of movement here is a lot of movement at the end of the boom. Another way to see that these need to be replaced is check your clearances. Notice on the bottom side it's touching, and on the top side you can actually see the bushing being pushed up from the bottom. If you're starting to see this, you might want to get it replaced. Also, look how much tighter it is on the right side versus the left side. The first step in this process is to remove that top bolt holding the cylinder in. With the bolt and pin removed, just drop the cylinder down and let it rest. Then you want to get yourself a crane and some sort of a lifting device to hold the boom up. Also, on the front side, you want to keep it cradled, and then you're going to tie that down with some chains. Remove the lower bolt holding in the pin. You want to be careful. Sometimes this pin can literally just fall right out of there, but in most cases, it's going to be rusted in. It's going to take a lot of effort to get it out. I definitely recommend installing all new hardware doing this job. Grab yourself a slide hammer and we're going to slide hammer this out. This one is pretty rusted in there, so it's going to take a little bit of effort to get it out. This one was so bad it actually quit taking grease. This pin is about 2,600 hours of operating time. You're going to want to clean the surfaces very well before you reinstall the new pins. But before we do that, I'm going to show you what we're going to have to do. So you want to remove the two cylinder bolts holding the cylinders in. And then after that, we're going to push out this pin. And keep in mind, make sure you have this supported with some sort of lifting device before you remove any type of pins or bolts. Before we press out this pin, remove the bolt. And I like to push out the pin away from the sprayer. Tip of the day, try to grease them. That'll make it easier to push them out. So go ahead and remove that bolt holding the pin in. You also need to remove all the hardware on top. This includes all the sensors and brackets. Unplug the sensors and move the wiring out of the way. I like to use an air hammer to drive these pins out. You're going to want to use some extensions to get this pin pushed all the way through. Now that it's almost all the way out, now go ahead and remove your cylinder bolts. The inner cylinder can be a little bit jammed, so you can use a pry bar to pry it away. There's a small washer on the bottom side. Take note of where it's at so you don't forget to put it back in. And now we can go ahead and remove the rear cylinder. Take the crane or your lifting device and lift the boom out of the way.
There you go. Okay.
With that supported, now we can go ahead and remove the whole pivot bracket. This is pretty heavy, so you might want to have two guys to help you kind of wiggle it out of place to get it out of there. It's kind of jammed up on the top and bottom, so just make sure to remove it as safely as possible. So with everything out of there, once again, you're going to want to really clean all these surfaces up very well before you put anything back together. And this is the pivot bushing that we've been going after this whole entire time. One other thing to check for is that these like to crack out in this exact spot right here. So make sure to inspect them for any cracks and replace anything that's cracked out. With this out of the machine, you actually see how much this has pushed the bushing out. We're going to drive it from this side all the way through to the other side. So right now I'm using a seal driver. I'll have a link in the description below for the seal driver set that I'm using in this video. I use this one to remove them and install them. And when you're hammering these out and you find these little rings stuck inside, these are actually the shims that got ground down and pushed their way into the shaft. Go ahead and just throw those out and then keep driving the bushing through. With the bushing completely out, now we can see how much wear there actually was inside of there. And remember, a 1/4 inch of play here is like 3 to 4 inches of play at the very end of a boom. I can't stress this enough, clean up everything extremely well and make your life so much easier putting everything back together. You can see on the left side where I haven't ground it down, and then on the right side it's nice and smooth. You want the whole thing to look like that. Another tip is to remove your greaser and replace it with a brand new one. And this is how it should look when you have it completely cleaned. And also check to make sure there's no lips on the bottom side where it got ground down, because that can cause you problems when you go to press in the new bushing. Go ahead and take your new bushing and line up the holes. You want to make sure these are lined up so it's easier to grease the bushing. One thing to help install these, you can actually freeze the bushing and it'll shrink it just a little bit to help install it easier. You're going to want to go ahead and install it till it's about even on both sides. I don't like to use a grinder to remove these stickers that come on these shafts. So one trick I've learned over the years is to actually use a gasket remover. I found this to be one of the fastest and easiest ways to remove a sticker from a shaft. And the main reason I don't like to use a grinder, if you notice these shafts have a yellowish color to them, they're actually zinc plated and that helps prevent rust in the shaft. And when you use a wire reel to grind those down, you actually remove that zinc plating on the shaft. One other thing to inspect when you have this all apart, you want to check the cylinder hydraulic spherical bearings. This one will not move any direction and it's completely seized up and needs to be replaced. I will have a separate full how-to video on replacing this. You should be able to move it freely with no resistance. Without those moving, it can also cause binding when you're going to fold in and out. Now we can go ahead and reinstall the whole entire pivot assembly. I definitely recommend having an extra person to help you install this. It is not easy getting everything lined up, especially having to install shims in the shaft. You're going to want to try to add 2 shims on the bottom and 1 shim on top. With the 2 bottom shims in, you can go ahead and drive up the shaft halfway. And then install your top shim last. It is not easy to get everything lined up, so just take your time because it's going to take you a couple tries to get it right. Once everything is lined up, drive the shaft all the way through. Take a centering punch to line up the bolt holes. Once that's all in, install your cylinders and the bolts. Lower the whole boom assembly back into position. And a lot of times when you set this back down, it needs to be pulled towards the rear of the machine. I usually just take a small come along and pull it back just a little bit and it usually lines up. With it lined up, go ahead and drive your pin all the way through. It takes a lot of adjustments to get it lined up perfectly, so it might take a little bit of time to get the pin to go through. Reinstall a new hold-down bolt. And then install the brackets and wires for all the sensors. And then also don't forget to install the top cylinder and the bolt. With everything back into place, go ahead and grease everything, and this job is now complete. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps my channel out. It takes a lot of time and effort to make videos like this for you guys. And I hope you enjoyed it and it helped you out, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.